9 Plus Us presents the Baseball Together podcast with your hosts, Blackjack Brad and Kansas City Little Big Briggy Blue Eyes. And now, Baseball Together.
Welcome to this week's episode of the Baseball Together podcast, Baseball Family. I am Brad, and once again, I am joined by our guy, Brig.
Hey!
Hi there, how are ya?
Okay, it's nice.
So we've got a ton to go through this week. I mean, baseball is like back-ish, right?
It's
You've
popping.
you've got summer camps going on. They're not calling them training camps. They're calling it summer camp for whatever reason. And then we're going to go through, we're going to do a little KBO update. And it's a week late, but it took us about this long to be able to watch it because of time and availability. But we're going to go over the documentary put out by MLB Network called Junior. Kind of hence the backwards hat a little bit, and also because of the green screen, because it looked weird last week. So here we go. Let's get into this. MLB players have reported to summer camps. Now, I don't know about...
Stop.
Go
Hold
ahead.
on.
Yeah.
Can we just acknowledge the fact that calling it summer
I
camp
was just going to say that. What
is-
visual does that paint for you?
That's right. I'm thinking sleeping bags, maybe a cornhole tournament or two.
Where's the
I
pool?
see.
I know they
Hot
have a pool in
dogs.
Arizona. They have one in Florida.
Yeah, for
Does
sure.
every stadium have a pool somewhere, maybe a slip and slide?
I see.
to-
Can you just see Brett Gardner sitting on the end of the blob, and like
Aaron Judge jumping
Aaron
off.
Judge or Judge and Stanton together, coming off the platform. I see Daniel
Gardner goes upper
Vogelbach.
deck.
Yeah, I see Daniel Vogelbach participating heavily.
Oh, and sending
Eh?
D. Gordon to the moon.
Oh,
Absolutely. Yeah.
D Gordon, he's off and away. Get the mustard out on that one, right?
For sure. Yeah, I'm glad we're on the same page with that because that's exactly what it sounds like.
Yeah.
Like, oh my goodness. Yeah, it's too funny. It is too funny they're calling them summer camps. So these are going to go
Yes.
on for about 3 weeks, and then we'll have opening day on the 23rd and the 24th of this month.
Yes, we
But
are.
This week, with everybody coming back to their camps, Brig, I want to know from you, which team do you think is best suited for a sprint? 60-game sprint.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I have to say, before I answer your question directly, and I will give you a direct answer, I am going to
Answer your question with a
equivocate
question.
a little bit. Okay, stop it. Listen, I'm just kidding. I do think it's valuable to point out that because of this new format and because of the way that teams will have to renegotiate their every approach to this season, that we could see some bananas craziness happen. This could go, to the most audacious team on the field, honestly. So it's easy. It would be easy for me to say New York Yankees have a great chance, and they do, but that's if they can stay healthy. And then you figure you got Mookie Betts out in L.A. now, and what does that mean? And then the Astros, all they want to do is prove everybody wrong. So they got some fire in their bellies there, but those are the three hottest teams. Everybody's always talking about those teams. Everybody wants. What I would love to see is I want to see Milwaukee come charging forward. I want to see. Yeah. I want to see Miami be like, we got these new colors and watch out.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I just think that with maybe a younger team who can go a little more energetic, who can stay in the game longer. I don't know what it will take. Obviously, the new roster structure is attempting to balance that out. But yeah, I think it's all these predictions are great, and we should make them because that's mindless and fun. But I really do think that in a perfect world, we see a team come out of nowhere, and maybe it's Seattle.
Yeah. Hey, I got my fingers crossed, but not too tight. Every day.
Yeah, very good.
I honestly think it's whoever plays the best small ball is what it's going to be because
Agreed.
runs are going to be at a premium.
Yep.
Coming up, so get every run you can. It's no longer going to be it's May. We can We can throw this one away. It's
Yeah.
a trash game. No, everybody's gonna be fighting for every inch of every game. They're gonna be they're gonna be taking the extra base, sending guys when they shouldn't be. Maybe it's gonna be aggressive, and it's gonna be. I think it's gonna be a lot of fun. A lot of fun baseball. Like
Yeah, I
yeah,
think
we
so.
talked about some of the rules in place, with the extra innings and the universal DH. But I think the excitement level of the game itself is gonna make up for all of that.
Yeah.
So
I agree with you, and I love that you plugged small ball because precisely, sir. It says, well played.
well, we're all about that here. We're all about small ball.
You know what else they did?
But
Since we don't
what's
have
that?
to actually consider the length of the season quite as heavily as we usually do, they've canceled the All-Star game.
yeah, they did that. So we're recording Friday,
Yeah.
July 3rd, and they did that today. And I
Dilly.
saw that. Yeah, I saw the notification. I was like, yeah.
So
they didn't do that already?
Super duh.
Yeah, like
Right.
the conversation I thought of, like that I imagined going was like, "Hey Rob, what are we going to do at the All-Star game?" Oh, that.
Oh.
Well, cancel it. Okay.
Okay.
Well, LA has it. What do you want to do about that? Who has it in 2022? Nobody yet. Give it to them.
Give it.
Okay.
Give it to L.A.
Anything else? I don't think so. All right, Rob.
Yeah.
Have a good day. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, boss.
that's
Heavily
how I
air
imagine that
quoted.
conversation.
Heavily air quoted. Thanks, boss.
Yeah. Okay. Back to work. Whatever. But no, yeah, that seemed pretty obvious to me. I was not counting on an All-Star game. Like as soon as they weren't playing in May, it's like there's not going to be an All-Star game. Let's be real. So,
Yeah, I agree with you, bro. And
but
I think, but what I think that will do is it will create more urgency. It will create more of this dynamic level of anxiety in the gameplay in the season schedule, and we won't have a break to look forward to, and there won't be this midpoint where we get to say, all right, okay, now let's take it seriously or whatever, right? Because some people do
the
that.
midpoint is like just before Labor Day, right?
That's right.
Yeah, so it's like there's your break.
Yeah.
Labor Day. I mean, I know the players are playing still, but
Please.
for fans, like you get to Labor Day, where are you?
There will be no breaks in the fandom. None.
no, yeah, absolutely not. But
Rightly
I'm
so.
excited for. I am glad they canceled the All-Star break. Honestly, I could kind of do without it unless they brought in more events. But that's a different.
Right,
thing for
we've
another
talked
day.
about this. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we'll bring it
Yeah.
up again next year, I'm sure.
We will bring it up. I'm sure we'll bring it up every year at the All-Star break.
Until they fix it.
Exactly.
Okay, never mind.
Yeah. But anyways, so you've got Major League Baseball coming back. You've got guys reporting to camp, but some guys are not.
Right.
That's part of the agreement this year is that if guys don't feel safe, they don't feel like they can risk going out there with coronavirus, they don't have to.
Yeah.
And they're not getting paid. They understand that. But they're also not going to be penalized for it contractually. Nobody's ever really truly guaranteed a roster spot, right?
Yeah. Right.
So it's not like you're risking losing a roster spot any more by not showing up than you would be by showing up.
Technically, that's true.
Yeah. Like I feel like I've got a list here. Like Ryan Zimmerman for the
Yeah.
Nats.
Sure.
He's not going to lose a roster spot by not showing up. If anything, the only thing the guy behind him can do is maybe hurt his chances of coming back next year. Like, well, he sure isn't Zim, is he?
Right.
Boy, we could use that guy. But we've got a whole list. Mike Leake of the D-backs, he's the first guy to opt out, and then you've got Joe Ross and Ryan Zimmerman with the Nats. You got Ian Desmond with the Rockies,
Yeah.
who was actually pretty vocal about his opting out. He had a laundry list of reasons, and I don't fault him for any of that.
No, me neither.
I'll come back to that in just a minute. But then you've got Mike Trout and Bryce Harper both have babies on the way, and neither one of them is entirely sure.
Well,
Mike Trout said he's playing it by ear, and Harper is just undecided. He says he feels safe in the stadium, but he's not sure just because of his wife and kids.
okay, now hold on. I heard this afternoon, Friday the 3rd, that Mike Trout had finalized his decision.
He did. Okay.
Yeah.
Because I saw a headline about the same time that said that he was playing by ear, but yours may have come after.
Yeah,
So
I don't know. The way it read was pretty unequivocal.
yeah,
So
yeah. I haven't seen an update yet.
we'll see.
But if that's what you saw, then I'm gonna go with that. Yeah, we'll see what happens by Monday. Maybe we'll put an update on.
Well, and they still have
on
a
the
chance.
description or
They,
something.
you know, they. I mean,
They do.
So
But I don't fault those guys at all.
no, I don't either.
Like, with their wives with babies on the way, absolutely, for sure.
Yep.
You know, don't play. And Ian Desmond, like I said, one thing that he said is he's like, I need to be with my family right now. And my wife says all the time that that's one thing that she feels like this pandemic has done is helped everybody realize what's important.
Yeah.
You know, that the most important thing, regardless of what you're doing during the day at work, it's people are finding out it's their families. You know, and I know the divorce rate went way up at the beginning of the pandemic, but
It's
at the same
still
time,
up. Yeah.
yeah, but anybody who is staying home is I feel like getting a new appreciation for their family. I mean, yeah. Anyways,
You and I you and I've experienced that on a very personal level. So
yeah, for sure.
yeah.
And so I can't fault Ian Desmond one bit for that.
No.
I good on those guys for having their priorities straight. But on the other hand, I don't fault anybody else for playing because they get to go play baseball.
Yeah.
They make a lot of money doing it. So
Yes.
that's cool.
I
So,
love it.
Either way, I respect everybody's decision either way. Good for them.
I do too.
All right, last thing we have going. Speaking of everything going on in the world, there's been a lot of attention drawn lately to civil rights, and I know in the NFL every year about this time the Washington Redskins name comes up. Well, the Cleveland Indians are getting ready to address their team name.
Right.
They're saying that they're going to make some serious considerations about changing their team name, and I don't know that this has been brought up. I know they got rid of Chief Wahoo
They did.
recently.
Yeah.
But I didn't know. I had never heard anything about their team name.
Yeah,
Possibly
I didn't
being
either.
changed.
I hadn't heard that.
So I think that's cool. That's cool if that's what they want to do and
Yeah.
that's what they feel is right. Go for it.
Yeah.
But what I want to know, Brig, is what should they change the name to?
Yeah, so that's a good question because when I saw this, I thought, well, what are you going to pose it to your fan base like they do in minor league baseball?
They could, yeah, they could have their fans vote on it. I mean, I think that's how the the Seattle Seahawks got their team.
Is
name
that
a fan
true?
Vote. Yeah,
I didn't know that.
That's true.
I know that.
Yeah.
That's very, very common in minor league. That's very
Mm-hmm.
common in the college summer league. It's very common in independent ball,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah,
so
could.
so it could happen, and maybe they open it up and go, wow, these are terrible, and then they have a short list of their own, and they see how many times those are validated with fan participation. That could happen.
Yeah.
But it's Cleveland, bro. They are gonna have to nod music in some way. That's gonna be the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is gonna be a part of it.
Thought of that.
And it's kind of a travesty that they're gonna have to go that way. I think that's not the direction I would endorse going, but I don't see them thinking any other way about it.
Mm-hmm.
Especially, look, and here's part of why I feel that way, because when we did the All-Star game last year in Cleveland, man, guitars were everywhere. It was on the side of the ball caps, right? Everything was about rock and roll, and that was a neat overtone. I thought that was a kind of an interesting theme, but I didn't love it all the way. I hope they don't think that that's the way they should go.
That would feel very independent, very minor league to me.
Yeah.
If they went that direction.
Yes.
I think, quite honestly, just go back to the Cleveland Spiders.
Yeah.
They were the Cleveland Spiders until they took on the name the Indians in 1915.
Yeah.
I think just go back to the Spiders. You can do so much with that. I know back in Idaho, when I drive to work a certain way, I drive past this company that had a spider as their logo.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say what it is because I don't want to plug them. I don't know what they do.
Sure. Yeah.
But it was a really cool spider. It looked very much like the Spider-Man logo.
Yeah.
And it was super cool. I was like, dang, whatever that is, I'd wear that.
Mm-hmm.
So I know. I mean, I feel like nowadays with the way graphic design is, you could be the Spiders and have a really cool logo, and maybe, I don't know, throw some money at Disney or Sony, whoever, and get Spider-Man as your mascot.
Whoa.
That'd be pretty cool.
Wow.
But that's a lot of money to be.
Yeah, that is. So I just did a little bit of a
But-
search. The Negro Leagues and the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum's been on my mind a lot lately, and
Uh-huh.
I decided to look. What was the Negro Leagues baseball team? And it was the Cleveland Browns, actually.
Oh, I
So-
think I remember that.
Right?
Yeah.
And so
I mean, obviously not from like my life, but I remember seeing it.
well, you remember. The other team that has been Cleveland's other team name was the Buckeyes. Now, I don't think they can go that way either. So now I thought it would be maybe easy to just reach back into the past, but I doubt that they'll have the chance to go either of those directions. That's a little too bad.
I think they could go Buckeyes just because. I mean, how many Cougars and Wildcats are there in college sports?
Yeah.
You know, so I think they technically could. I don't think the Ohio State has
Way to go.
sole
Nice.
ownership of that.
Yeah, that was
You got to make sure you get
get
it
it
right.
right, bro.
But so I think they could technically use that if they wanted to. I don't know that they would.
I don't think they will. Yeah, they wouldn't do that.
But yeah.
So I've been
yeah, maybe dip back into and probably not the Browns. I don't know.
I don't know either.
Bulldogs,
But
I don't know.
the Negro Leagues had a bunch of really great names. I think of the Kansas City Monarchs, and I think, wow,
Yeah.
can you imagine the Cleveland Monarchs? Now it's got a ring to it. I don't want to appropriate Kansas City's history for Cleveland, but something along those lines, just as a suggestion. I think you could go that way. And
I got one
okay,
for you.
yeah.
You
What's
ready?
your opinion?
The Cleveland Dinos?
Whoa. Okay.
Nah.
All right.
I mean, with the popularity of NC Dinos right now,
Yeah. Yes.
that could pick up, get some traction. Anybody who doesn't know a whole lot about it, maybe caught a little bit of KBO, might be like, "Oh, there's a Dinos." I mean,
You could tie it in.
maybe.
Would
Yeah,
that
I don't
necessitate
know.
a color scheme change? See, that's next level implication here. Are we going to keep the red and blue?
That is. You can keep the red and blue because you've got the Toronto Raptors of the NBA, and they're black and red.
Yeah.
I could see navy and red dinos.
Yeah.
That would
I
be.
could see that.
That'd be pretty sweet.
I'm just thinking, like, of all the things, if you're going to change the name, does that not necessitate or bring about the conversation of having a full-blown rebranding?
You could, because again, another NBA thing. The Washington Bullets changed to the Washington
Yeah.
Wizards, and completely changed everything for a number of years. Went from, I think, red and black and white, I believe, or red, white, and blue. I can't remember, to like gold and
Yeah, gold and
blue or
blue
something for a
Yeah,
while.
That's right.
So it could end up happening.
So I just think it'll be interesting to watch. And if you don't have an aversion to Chief Wahoo, or what, if you love the script eye that they've got going on right now, you might want to run out and buy yourself a hat right quick,
Yeah,
or
for sure.
whatever jersey.
And who knows if the navy blue and red goes the way of the world, you might want to pick up that sea hat if you like
That's
it.
right.
Because it is simple, but I think it's sharp. That's
I'm
just
glad
me.
you feel that way. You're not alone. You're just
Whatever.
alone here.
And that's just fine.
Listen,
But
speaking
anyways,
of the KBO,
speaking of KBO,
that's right.
let's take a short break, and when we get back, we're going to give you a little KBO update.
No matter which ballpark you're at, you want to rep your team. Now you can with 9+ Us. Welcome to the Big City Series. With every design available in your team's colors, you can fit in with the home crowd or stand out on the road. Either way, we have the colors you crave. Shop the Big City Series and find designs that rep your favorite baseball podcast, cheer from the cheap seats, and much more. Shop the Big City Series only at 9plusus.com.
Welcome back, baseball family. Before we move on to why we're actually here tonight, just kidding. That's a tease. No, we want to talk to you about KBO very briefly, very quickly. I feel like we are at a point in the season with KBO, and we're all new enough to the KBO that I had to go back and remind myself some of the parameters surrounding the KBO season. How long is it? Where are we in the season? Etc. So, the season in KBO is 144 games long. We have now played like 45 of them, 48, whatever it is. There
50.
are 95 games left in the season. Let's say that.
Yeah.
95 games left in the season. The NC Dinos are leading the charge.
That's
baby.
right, baby. Go Dinos.
So we've been watching KBO, but it's kind of become what we do. And that's okay. That's what baseball is, right?
Yeah.
So, but I sat there tonight like, well, okay, so the NC Dinos are leading the league, 34 wins. They've got 15 losses as of tonight. It's July 3rd, Eastern Time.
16 losses
And,
as of tonight. I think I've got an
16.
updated one.
You're right. You're right. They just lost tonight again. And didn't they get a whooping tonight?
Yeah, they got a whooping tonight. It was I had it pulled up. Let me see if I can find it again. It was like 8-2, 6 something.
8-2,
9-2.
Yeah, that's right.
So yeah, not a good showing for the Dinos.
That's
But
okay.
tomorrow's another day.
That's
So,
right. That's right. In fact, it's the most normal baseball that we're able to access at this point in our lives together here.
Yep.
And it's we're really enjoying it. But we, like I said, I just needed to know, like, okay, now how far into it are we? It's not as intuitive for us yet as it is with an MLB season, which
Yeah.
is not going to be intuitive this year either. So it's all kind of up in the air.
Yes and no, like I said, because the season's going to end still the end. Like the regular season will still end the end of September. So
That's true.
The ending is still as scheduled at like normal, but
Yeah,
the
that's a good
beginning is
point.
going to feel weird. Like at what point are we going to get to like, okay, this is the beginning of the season, now we're at the middle, and then we're at the end. It's going to be like beginning, middle, end. All like that. But
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's been
And if
nice.
they're playing almost every day.
Yeah, it's been nice, honestly, to have the KBO season that does have that little bit slower pace to it.
Yep.
As much fun as we said that MLB is going to be, it's going to be. You're going to be out of breath by the time it's done.
Well, and I know we're not all sitting up watching KBO every day, and I know we're not all able to catch the reruns the next day. I got it. I don't catch them all the time either.
I typically and see, like, I've got a benefit. Like, I'm working from home, and my TV is like 8 feet from me. I just flip on.
Right.
I flip on the Xbox. I go to the ESPN app and I watch. I flip on a game, like the game from the night before, on demand. Like that's what I do in the afternoons when I work. So I feel like I've got it pretty good as far as that goes. So I get to watch KBO just about every day. But
yeah, and I got a lot going on. So
yeah, I get that.
I don't always and I'm not alone in that. A lot of other people, a lot of the listeners and viewers, they got a lot going on too. So so for those of you out there like me who are a little bit lost in the sauce on the KBO, it's okay. Don't feel bad.
Yeah.
It is going to be an interesting contrast now that we have a very, very truncated MLB season, and we get to contrast and compare that with the KBO season that is a much more long and drawn out season, which is more what we're used to. So we'll get a chance to evaluate the two at the end of this season and see which one we like better, which format was more appealing, provided more, whatever provided. So
yeah,
I'm kind of excited about that actually.
Well, and I'm curious to see how the playoffs work out, because I feel like their playoff format is really very interesting. We highlighted it at the beginning, but if I remember right, it's like the top 6 teams make it.
And the way it works is team 6 plays team 5, and then team 5 plays teams 4. Team 4 plays team 3. Why am I putting S at the end of these? Team 3 plays team 2, and then team 1 hasn't played at all through the playoffs until it's time.
Yeah, it's a ladder format. Yeah, so 6 plays 5, and then the winner plays on to play 4. Yeah, so it's I've never seen, quite honestly, anything like it except for playing video games, and by video games I mean fighting games, because that's how those work. But
Mortal Kombat is a great example.
Yeah, it feels like a Mortal Kombat tournament, because you got the boss waiting at the top, and you got to work your way up. So, yeah,
the rusty boss. right?
Yes,
Though,
yeah,
let's
that's
be
what
honest,
it's going to
though.
be. Yeah, I would
Yeah.
almost rather be the second or third seeded team. I think I said that at the beginning because
Yeah.
you're not having as much of a layoff, and then you still have some. I don't know. That's just me, but whatever.
So the only other thing we should talk about with, regard to KBO is that Addison Russell is now playing for the Kiwoom Heroes,
Yes,
and
yeah.
and that is relevant for a lot of reasons.
Mm-hmm.
He was non-tendered by the Cubs, so after his suspension and everything, all the stuff that happened.
Mm-hmm.
I'm excited that Addie's going to get a chance to start this redemptive path.
Yeah,
And I think the KBO is going to provide him with a wonderful opportunity, a wonderful culture, immersed in a wonderful larger culture of South Korea, to maybe get himself right. We talked about other players in the past who've entered this environment and have come out saying that they feel like better people.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe this could be the greatest thing ever for him. I don't know. I don't want to.
Yeah.
I hate to put that on anybody. I hate to extrapolate that hard, I guess is the best way to put it. But honestly, he's faced some very serious crisis in his life, and a cleansing opportunity like this, if I may be so bold, is a pretty cool thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the other thing that's important to understand is that anybody out there who might be an Addison Russell fan still, you're not going to see him in MLB at all this year. Like,
Right.
Not just because he's not in a 60-man player pool. It's because they're, I was watching. Okay, so I got to explain this, and then I can explain that. So I was watching Trevor Bauer and his agent Rachel Luba talk about this before. The MLB is like the only organization in the country that's exempt from antitrust laws.
Yeah. Yes.
And what that means is that if you're under contract with MLB, you cannot go play anywhere else. Like, if there's
That's
a
right.
strike, you cannot go. The NBA, they said, like, when they were locked out a few years ago, they could have gone and played in Europe. I think a few guys did,
Totally.
And
Yeah.
then NFL could do that too. They could go play whatever. Ocho Cinco went and played. I guess that's not the same. But anyways, they could go play somewhere else.
Yeah. I know what
MLB,
you mean, though.
cannot do that. You cannot do that with MLB. So he's not going to be seen in MLB this year for a number of reasons. But like you said, this is kind of a path of redemption for him, and this is the first step. And I think it's a good first step. Good first way to
I
go.
do too. I do too.
So-
And just like I said, I mean, I could beat this horse all day long, but
Yeah.
could not possibly be a better culture to
Mhm.
to find yourself in.
Yep.
So I hope he embraces it, and I hope that he becomes the person he wants to become, whatever that means.
Yeah.
So, now he was a replacement. Tell us about this, Brad, because you have a little bit of a better line on this than I do.
I do. So you said, like you said, he was signed on to the Kiwoom Heroes, and he's actually replacing another American because KBO rules you can only have 3 foreign-born players.
Correct.
So he's actually replacing Taylor Motter. If anybody remembers Taylor Motter, he came up with the Rays, and then he got traded to the Mariners. The Mariners ended up waiving him in 2018. Then he went to the Twins for just a little bit, kind of a cup of coffee, you could say.
Yeah.
So
Right.
I specifically remember Taylor Motter because when he came up, talk about a flash in the pan. The guy was lightning for like 2 months. It was very, very good, and that was in 2017 when he came up with the Mariners, and he had that really good stint. But 2018, the reason they waived him was because he was not good at all.
Yeah.
The last time I saw Taylor Motter, he grounded out to shortstop, second base, whatever, like just a slow roller, grounded out, went back to the dugout, put his head in his hands, and you could tell it was just like that was it. It was done.
Yeah.
That the Mariners had told him that was it with them. So then I saw him a little bit with the Twins, and then I saw him resurface with the Kiwoom Heroes, and I was like, hey, that's awesome. Good for him. Getting another chance. But man, the poor guy continues to fall. He got cut by the Kiwoom Heroes.
Yep.
And that's who Addison Russell is replacing. That's one thing that I've heard watching and listening to the KBO is they say if you're not cutting it, you're done. Especially
You're
a
out.
foreign-born player, because there are other guys who they can replace you with. So you don't
Well,
get
and
much of
they
a
hang-
chance.
And they hang their hats on their foreign-born players a
Oh,
lot.
for sure, yeah. If a guy like Taylor Motter comes in who washed out of the MLB, and then he's coming in as supposed to be the leader and the big guy, and he's batting $150, he's not going to get more than 2 weeks. He didn't get more than 2 or 3 weeks to
Yeah.
pull out of whatever slump it was. They cut him and they brought in Addison Russell, and so hopefully for Addison Russell, he is able to step in and take control. And it doesn't help that the Kiwoom Heroes are not a good team.
No.
Oh no, sorry. I was thinking Hanwha. Kiwoom is good. Kiwoom is
Yeah,
very good.
I was gonna say they're
They're only three
great.
back of the Dinos.
They're great. It's
Yeah, but anyways, no,
It's actually that's part of why it makes it such a wonderful opportunity.
yeah,
Anyway,
but yeah, no, sorry, I mixed up the Hanwha Eagles and the Kiwoom Heroes, and they.
that's okay.
Yeah, so.
Okay, it's all.
But yeah,
new.
I mean, if everybody else is playing, and then you got a foreign-born player who's not, that's all the more reason.
yeah.
So you got to fill that hole.
So I hope you all are having fun with the KBO, as much fun as we are, and we're gonna take another short break, and then we're gonna come back and we're gonna jump into Junior.
Take me out to the ball game. Take me out to the crowd. Buy me some peanuts and Cracker Jacks. I don't care if I never get back with me. Root, root, root for the home team. If they don't win, it's a shame. For it's 1, 2, 3 strikes, you're out at the old ball game.
Shop kids' baseball shirts at 9pluss.com.
Welcome back, baseball family. I got to tell you, I'm super excited to talk about this documentary from MLB Network, because, okay, first, it's called Junior, obviously about Ken Griffey Jr., my hero, my idol growing up. Like, I saw this coming out, and I was like, when, where? Tell me when and where, and then, of course, it's not on demand, so.
Well,
Whatever.
yeah, but then you got to see it early, and then you begged me to watch it. So
Well, I found it on YouTube. I was cruising YouTube
yeah,
today, and I came across. I was like, "Oh, snap!" And then I pushed it to watch it, and then I copied the link and sent it off to you.
yeah, you did.
So
I was like, where
"Watch
do
it
I
now."
find it?
So, so
And
we
before
can
I
watch
got
it.
my response out, it was there in my inbox. I was like, oh, thanks.
Yep. Hey, I got your back with things like this.
You got it. You got it so
And
hard.
I'm gonna put the link to the video to the doc on YouTube is gonna be in the doobly doo as well, so you can go watch it.
Yes.
because it's amazing. It was so stinking good,
Man.
And and there were no commercials on this version.
That's right.
So
Oh, it was
an hour
fabulous.
and 8 minutes.
Yep.
It's a good watch. So, Brig,
Yeah.
you were gonna tell me something in the break, but then you stopped.
Yeah.
What was you gonna tell me about this? Let's start with that.
Well, I will begin by telling you that first I will tell you I grew up really falling in love with baseball in the 90s. And
Yeah.
and you cannot separate Griffey. You cannot separate Junior from the 90s, right?
It's true.
Obviously.
Yep.
But every kid in America knows the kid. Everybody does. Every kid in America felt like the kid.
True
And so I was
story.
watching.
Yeah.
Here's what I wanted to tell you. I was watching, and you had mentioned that you had to turn off the fan because you kept getting goosebumps.
Yeah, it was freezing.
Yeah.
Goosebumps. Yeah.
I was watching this, and every I don't know, 15 minutes out of this hour and 8-minute long documentary, I was watching. I wasn't alone. I was watching it with friends, and they'd say, "Holy cow!" and I'd be like, "Yeah, I'm gonna cry." I'm about to cry. Just keep it together. Now, obviously, anyway, there's a lot going on there, but the point is, it was that good, and those
It was, yeah.
those memories are that close still.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, and especially for me, like as a Mariners fan,
Yeah.
specifically as a Griffey fan, like, and not just like I know there are certain people who are Mariners fans because of Griffey, but I was a Mariners born a Mariners fan.
Yes.
Right.
Yep. You were.
Like I think I had a Buhner pennant on my wall. I think I might have had an Alvin Davis one or something like that on my wall
Yeah.
when I was young because my dad was a Mariners fan, so I became one. But like you were talking about, every kid wanted to be Ken Griffey Jr. Like I was talking with Kyle about how I was playing a pickup baseball game with the neighborhood kids.
Yeah.
When I was like 10 or 11, I convinced them to flip the field so I could hit home runs off them and watch them sail over the fence.
Yeah, that's
'Cause
right.
who didn't want to do that? But but no, like watching the story of from the beginning, that his dad was like not sure how good he was because he was never around. And that was one thing that Griffey talked about, is that he's like, it was pretty cool that your dad played baseball, but he was never there.
Yeah.
That he's like, I go to my little league games on Saturday, everybody else's dad's there and my dad's gone because he's working.
Because he's in New York.
Oh man. Yeah,
Or whatever,
It's
you know what I
funny
mean?
to think about, because I was talking to my wife about this. She's like, it's so weird to think about that. It's not something you normally think about, that your dad can't be at his little league games, even though he's big into baseball. Like baseball is his thing, but he's not at your game because he's at his game.
That's right. Well, and you can't
It's
fault the
something
guy.
You don't think about.
You can't fault the guy
Yeah.
on so many levels. He's making a living. He's
Yeah.
he's doing what he loves to do, and
Yeah.
and you got the feeling that Junior felt that way. He could say, he said, I was angry in the past, and I struggled with it, but I got it right. Like eventually
Yeah.
I found it, and his own fatherhood came to light later in the documentary, and we should talk about that later. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's amazing how that all came full circle for Junior. Yeah.
Yeah, it's absolutely that's absolutely right. But I loved obviously the parts in the 90s, because like you said, you can't separate 90s baseball from Ken Griffey
No
Jr.
way.
Which is so funny because it was 1993, I think, when the Mariners clinched their first winning record.
Yeah.
And it was because of him.
Yeah, it is.
That he was like the driving force behind the Mariners winning, like their first winning season. It was 1990. I want to double check that because I'm pretty sure that was the year.
Well, while you're
it was.
listen, while you're looking
go
at
ahead.
that, let's just go ahead and start at the beginning. He was the number 1 pick overall.
Mm-hmm.
Now that's amazing. Now, and on top of that, how many number 1 picks have we seen completely burn out and fail?
Oh, it happens all the time.
Constantly.
It happens all the time. And not only was he the number 1 pick, like you see the number 1 pick come out of college, you see the number 1 pick come out of high school.
He was
only 17 when he
I
picked
know.
him. 17 years old.
I know.
Like,
And then he
jeez.
lived up to
You know, and-
every ounce of that hype.
Yes.
Shocking.
It is. And so 93, the Mariners went 82-80. It's their first winning 91. Sorry, 91 they went
Okay.
83-79. That was his second year in the league.
Right.
Sorry, third year, because he came up in 89.
Okay, yeah, that's right.
But-
89.
Going back to 89 real quick, the Mariners called his agent. I can't think of what his name is off the top of my head.
Riz
said-
anyway, whatever his name is.
Anyway, is like, we don't want to give you the wrong impression, but we just want to see how he does with the big
Yeah.
guys.
Bring him to
Like,
camp.
how he can.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're gonna bring him to big league camp, and by the time they're done, like, well, we can't send him to AAA. He's too good for that. So he made the opening day roster
As the starting
at
center
19
fielder
years
at
old
19
when they didn't. Yeah, when they didn't want him
after
to.
2 years in
And
the
he-
minors.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
astonishing.
Never. And they mentioned it later after he broke his wrist. He had 3 at bats in Tacoma, is what
Yeah.
he said. He's like, I had three at bats in Tacoma,
right.
and I was like, I'm never going back there. Like,
And he's
So
wasn't going to
funny.
have it. It's because it wasn't
Yeah, not
right.
having
It
any
wasn't
of it.
what he needed.
Yeah.
You know?
yeah, exactly. Yep.
So his first swing,
sure.
after 2 years in the minor leagues, his first swing in Seattle, first swing in the Kingdome, he goes yard. Not his first,
Of course he did.
not just his first at bat, but I mean his first swing. He goes yard, and you're like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Okay, hold on. 19 years
Well,
old.
and the thing that's funny about that is, like, that's just the way it was at the Kingdome too.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, it was a dome, so it's a little bit smaller, but still, like, you still got to be able to get it out of
It
there.
wasn't that much smaller.
No, like down the lines, it was like I want to say like 315.
Yeah, it wasn't that
but
bad.
they had the big wall on right. But it is still, I want to say 4 or 5.
It
straightaway
was
centers.
totally respectable.
But still, the fact, yeah, absolutely. I'm not taking anything away, obviously. But still, first swing, last swing in the Kingdome,
Yes.
home runs.
Yes.
Amazing.
Amazing.
And I love that they showed that like the clips from that last game of the Kingdome, because I faked like I was sick that day so I could stay home from church and watch that game.
My man.
Yeah, like I remember my family came home from church and I'm watching the game. It was like in the 7th inning. They're like, "You're not sick." Well, sorry.
Okay. Oh, you got me. But you want to sit down and
darn
watch
it.
this?
It's a great game, on. You want to watch?
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, that is a true fact.
That's a true
story.
fact. Yeah.
But so they go over to Safeco, and
Hold-
things don't really go well. But it is the house that Griffey built. It is and always will
That's
be the house
right.
that Griffey built. Which is amazing because baseball was like dead in Seattle, and not only did he save it, but he built a brand new stadium. Like he had a brand new stadium built because of the revenue that he
That's
brought
right.
in, and it's still a beautiful, fantastic ballpark.
I mean, you rave about
And
it
it's been-
constantly.
I do, and it's been 20 years, and I can't believe it's been that long. It's
Okay,
insane
well,
to me.
we should go.
But we
Let's
should
plan
go.
a trip.
Absolutely, we need to.
Let's plan a trip
Okay.
next year. Let's
okay.
go.
Next year. Okay.
All right.
I'm down. Let's do it.
Look, if you save your
Okay.
money, me too. If we save our money starting now, we can make it there by next year. No big deal.
Yeah. Yep. We'll be there. We'll
right.
get there. If there's fans in the stadiums next year. But anyways, so and for me, I don't remember if I shared this or not, but at Safeco they have that center field
Yeah.
porch, and this is like my favorite Griffey memory
Yeah.
ever. I was out there with my dad. He had his camera, kind of snapping some pictures, and he would just kind of walk back and forth in center field, just kind of wander
Yeah.
around. Which I get. Outfield can be boring.
Sure.
But so he was walking back to our left, like towards right field, and my dad had his camera up, and I yelled, "Hey, Junior!" And he looked at me, and I kind of waved a little bit because I was scared out of my mind because he actually looked at me, and he threw up with his left hand, threw me up a peace sign.
Yeah.
I was like, I can die
Yeah.
happy. It was such a
Yeah.
huge moment for me, and obviously 20 years later, 20 years later, I haven't forgotten it because it was amazing, absolutely
Yeah.
amazing. But anyways, so into the documentary, you get into the story about the trade, okay, the trade from Seattle to Cincinnati, and as a not just like I said, not just a Griffey fan, but a Mariners fan, that was like rip my.
See, I
heart
wanted
out
to
and
ask you
stomp
about
on
that
it.
because they shared the opinions of a number of people in the documentary, and they did their best to kind of highlight what that was. But I've been very curious about your opinion.
I was mad for a long
Yeah,
time.
I wondered.
It was like they said it happened February 10th of 2000. I turned 14 4 days later.
Oh.
It's like happy freaking birthday,
Wow.
man.
Yeah.
So I wasn't happy about it at all. I was mad for a long time, and then spring training rolls around, and I'm kind of coming around like, okay, baseball's back. We'll see what the Mariners do, and then it helped. Honestly, it helped that Mike Cameron, who came over in that
Yeah.
trade, was so damn
Yeah.
good because he was really good. The dude could hit. The dude could play center field. It's like okay, that's cool. But really, what the big turning point for me was I was sitting in front of my TV on opening day, and I watched the Reds because they were on ESPN that day. I made it a point to watch the Reds
Sure.
game,
Of course.
and Griffey walked up for his first at bat, and I was like, damn it, if he doesn't look good in red.
Yeah,
So-
that's right.
That kind of helped, and I was like, that's cool. And and it kind of came along. I was like, I know his dad played for the Big Red Machine, so he's going home, whatever, But in the documentary, like he said, that he came around to, like his dad's responsibility of playing, and then also him being a parent. That's really what that was that his agent said the last 6 weeks of the 1999 season, he was miserable.
miserable.
He was not happy at
Yeah.
all. And they said, what do we need to do? He said, just work on trading me to Cincinnati, which was
Not trading me, just to Cincinnati.
yeah.
It's amazing.
to Cincinnati specifically. And I do remember that he requested
He
being
really
traded to
did.
Cincinnati. At the time, I was like,
what?
At the time, I was like, I get Cincinnati, you know, like I said, because his dad was there, but like still, like Cincinnati
Yeah,
stinks.
right. They did, and they
So does
did, and they
Seattle, but-
continue to stink.
Yeah, they stunk the whole
That's
time
right.
he was there. But
Now we have
but
the whole story,
seeing,
though.
like actually, yeah, and like I said, I understood like the going home thing because my mom said he's going home. He's
Yeah.
just going home, and then hearing him say though that it was because he wanted to be a parent, he wanted to be around more, and he wanted his kids to be around family because they had family in Cincinnati and everything. I was like, I cannot ever fault anybody for that, especially as a dad myself.
That's right. And now you have this new
So.
perspective.
Yep, for sure. Yep.
So, no, I totally agree. I was watching the documentary with a friend of mine, like I said. Her name's Channing, and she's come up from Florida with her husband to see to 4th of July with us. Anyway, the point is, she's sitting there doing her crochet thing while we're watching this documentary. We were going to watch Letterkenny. But anyway, that's when you were you said, "Do you have time to watch Junior?" I'm like, "Yep, I do." So we switched it.
Not if you're gonna watch Letterkenny, I'm surprised.
We switched it from. I hadn't finished the series yet. That's fine. We finished, or we switched it over to Junior, and we started watching it. And she said to me, she's not a huge baseball person at all. Really, she's just. In fact, with our friendship, I think her and her husband are getting more and more involved in baseball. But she said to me, and I wrote this down. She said that his infectious smile was just intoxicating. She used the word infectious, and she said that just watching this documentary, I can tell that Junior is such a good person. That Ken Griffey Jr. loves this game, and it and I was like, look, this person, my friend, is not a baseball person and is watching this documentary about Junior and is catching the vibe, is feeling the fire, and that's what it does. So one of the things that I told Channing was that it's very odd, but that one thing in baseball, that one factor where you can look at a person playing the game on television with all the filters and all the pageantry and everything that's going on, and they got their game face on, you can tell that they are having pure joy or not. You can tell that they are a down-to-earth, love of the game ball player or not. And I said, isn't it interesting that baseball's greatest heroes and most toxic villains hinge on that one bullet point? That single thing. And she said, no way, are you serious? And I said, yeah, throughout all of baseball history. And Junior is, I think, for me, the bastion. He's the champion of this down-to-earth, pure joy baseball player.
Yeah. I totally agree with you. Like, there were two things that I learned from Junior playing baseball. Like, one, have fun because it's a stinking game, right? And two, if you're going to play hard. And that was kind of one of the things that they kind of glossed over the Cincinnati years just because he was plagued with injuries the entire time. And one of the things that the doctor said was he played really, really, really hard in Seattle. His body took a punishment. He had a couple injuries. But that's going to take a toll on your body as you get in your 30s. And that's exactly where he was. He was into his 30s by the time he got to Cincinnati, and that's why his body started to break down because it couldn't take the punishment of him wanting to run even 90, 95% in his 30s, you know, around the bases and chasing down fly balls in the outfield and diving. You saw one play where he dove and he dislocated his shoulder because he's getting to be older. I mean, I can't imagine I'm 34. Right. I can't imagine diving for a
seriously.
ball now. When I was 25, I was playing weekend softball, and I dove behind second base on the dirt, caught the ball, popped up my arms. Like, it was like diving on gravel. My arms were all cut up and bloody, but I was like, dude, I made the catch. Let's go hit. You know? I can't imagine doing that at 34 now. Because my body would break, and that's just what happens when people get older. But yeah, that's the thing is just play to have fun and play hard, and those I feel like were the big things that you took away from Junior. That, like you said, that smile was infectious. Everybody loved it. That was part of the reason that, I mean, companies were flocking to him for
endorsements and
for endorsements. He's the first baseball player to have a signature shoe. I remember specifically, I mean, I mentioned earlier about Ken Griffey Jr. baseball. I got way behind and I stopped playing, but you know, Ken Griffey Jr. baseball, he's on the cover with that great big smile. I remember specifically there was a Pepsi commercial where it says, "What a 95-mile-an-hour fastball looks like to Ken Griffey Jr." And it's like, it like slows way down. And he's like, "Did I lock my car?" You know, it's like thinking about all this other stuff.
I remember
And then he looks over, and Sammy Sosa's in the dugout, and he goes, "What's Sammy doing reaching for my Pepsi?" And he fouls the ball off, and it hits the back of the dugout, like right next to Sammy Sosa. And speaking of another guy who had an infectious smile, right?
Absolutely true.
Right? Sammy Sosa with that smile.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, you know, and then Sammy Sosa looks up at him. He flashes that smile and wags his finger. And you know, that was like pretty much the ad. Like these two guys, these billion-dollar smiles, who never would ever be on the same team because Griffey was still in Seattle.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, that commercial was like 25 years ago, and that still bugs me. But whatever. but yeah, I mean, everybody wanted to get a piece of that smile to make money because it was
totally
infectious.
is
Absolutely infectious.
So okay, I gotta tell you, I know we talk about the '95 season, and it's my dark spot. I know, and you poke it all the time.
It
but
is,
I gotta
because it's the only thing I can poke that dark spot.
Well, I'm gonna give you a bigger opening right now. Okay. So, growing up, I only knew the one side of that story. Really, I mean, I knew the one side of that story. It had been so many years since the Yankees had made any headway, and we felt like the underdogs in the '90s, but the collective we, right? But I never really spent time learning the storyline from Seattle's perspective until today. And I sat there and I watched the setup and the payoff with that bunt, that damn bunt. Excuse me, that bunt. Joey Cora goes up the first baseline and then skids out of the right off the base path, really off the base path, and.
So I've seen that so many times, and every time I'm like, his foot was on the line when he dove for the base. He was still in the path.
He just contorted his body just perfectly, and he was safe. Okay, I've watched it. I got it. He was safe, and good grief, that's a lot of effort, right? Anyway, so he ends up on third. Junior's at first base, and this documentary did an amazing job of setting up this situation, of telling this story from the Seattle side, that those of us who aren't familiar with that, you know, we didn't get a chance to see it. So I loved it. I want to confess to all the world that I'm watching this documentary, Yankees fan. I'm talking diehard Yankees fan. And I'm watching this documentary like, he scored all the way from first, and
and I don't want to give it away, but the way Junior specifically sets it up, talking about what he knows about the field, like the makeup of the field, and like his mental approach to leading off is like,
dude, to segment the game to that fine a detail, right? Like that's what we're talking about. To pay attention to and intimately familiar with that level of detail is crazy, right? That's what separates him. That's what makes him the elite level player that he was forever. And then to do that without becoming calloused, without becoming cold, without becoming all about the money and staying grounded. Dude, like I loved Griffey. I always have. But today it reached a new level, and I didn't know it was possible.
It did.
I was like, wow, I love this guy.
Yeah, well, and then, you know, like I said, the Cincinnati years were kind of like admiring from afar, you know. But then the end of, what was it, 2019 season? 2009 season. when he got traded to the White Sox.
They didn't even cover that.
No, they didn't, which I'm surprised because
Sure.
they should have, because it was an interesting thing that 2008 season at the trade deadline he got traded to the White Sox, and I thought that was strange first off, but I knew that he wasn't gonna stay with the White Sox because it was the end of his contract, the end of the contract that he had signed, or extension that he had signed after he got traded and everything, and then free agent after the 2008 season. And it's like, well, what are you going to do with a 39-year-old? I don't want to say washed up, but former superstar. What are you going to do? So he goes back to Seattle. And talk about the prodigal son
talk
coming
about
home.
that.
Holy
seriously.
smokes, man. Like, I was ecstatic when I found out that Griffey was coming back to Seattle. Like, that day, I bought myself a jersey, and that was the beginning of my jersey obsession. But that very day that he signed, I bought one. My buddy from T-ball from elementary school, and when I was in Washington the first time, he messaged me on Facebook. He's like, "Did you get your Griffey jersey?" I was like, "Yeah." Did you? He's like, "Yeah, I bought a home and away one."
Right.
Like, what else am I gonna do? You
Yeah.
know? It's like yeah. He's like, because we don't know. Is 2009 gonna be the last season? Like, are we gonna be able to buy these again? And granted, they still sell them, but still, it's like get it while you can, because you need it
now.
Now
is the time.
Yeah, so that was exciting. Where pretty much he spent the time as a
course.
DH, and like a corner outfielder,
Yes.
because he was 39 years
Well,
old.
and he
Like,
said-
whatever, who cares?
He said,
But-
"I know my role, and I won't spoil it. You got to go watch the documentary because he gets into what he knew his role was, and that tells a whole lot about his character as well."
And that's one thing I feel like aging superstars have a hard time with, is self-awareness of their role. And he played it. Not only did he know it, but he played it perfectly. Absolutely perfectly that last year and change in Seattle. So, go watch it. It's on YouTube. It's in the doobly-doo.
Okay, I know it's long,
Amazing.
but I got a
Loved
couple
it.
things.
Absolutely loved it.
Okay, I have some saved rounds. So
Go
I
for
had a conversation
Okay.
with one of the VIP members on the Facebook group today, and I can't remember who it was. I'm sorry. I should have looked it up. I feel so bad. And also, let me tell you that my video has now ended. I'm terribly sorry. I ran out of space on my card, but I cannot stop being effusive about Junior, so I'm just going to keep going. The point is, I had a conversation today or this week with a member of the VIP group on Facebook about Albert Pujols, and we were talking. We were on the same page the whole time about how sad it is to watch Albert Pujols decline, because he's in his. I mean, this dude is getting to the end of his days on a diamond. He just is.
Yeah.
And we've seen it coming. We've watched it come, and the decline is painful. It just is. For all of baseball, it doesn't matter who you're a fan of. It doesn't matter. This that's
is gonna
right.
be his
And Griffey
40-year-old
was the
season.
same way. Ken Griffey Jr. was the same way. And I was remembering the conversation about Albert Pujols while I was watching the documentary about Ken Griffey Jr. And I'm watching this. Here's the same story. Look, if you do it right, if there are no performance enhancers, if you play the game clean, you play the game pure, there is going to be this steady or even precipitous decline. And it's ugly, and it's painful, and it's lamentable. But you know what? The pain of the decline makes the successes we've been through so much better. And it proves the purity of their craft and their art and their skill, and which really becomes their legacy. So I think, there's a lot of people wonder all the time about Ken Griffey Jr. and his performance enhancers. And I'm telling you right now, if he hadn't declined the way he did, maybe you could wonder. But with all those injuries and all those surgeries and still jumping back into the fray and putting everything he had on the line every day, he said he had a couple hamstring surgeries, at least one knee surgery, at least one shoulder surgery, yeah, ankle, wrist twice, etc. And I'm like, okay, look, I've had 2 shoulder surgeries, a spinal fusion, and a second back surgery, and I would be no way, right? Like, absolutely not. This dude listed off in the documentary this list of surgeries, and I'm thinking, dang, holy cow. So
well, and you know, real quick too, compared
for
Pujols and Griffey, okay, exact same career trajectory.
That's exactly
Are you ready
right.
for this?
Go ahead, send it.
So Griffey and Pujols, like their constant stream of being all-stars ended. Their last time they had like their perennial all-star naming was their 30-year-old season. Griffey was 2000, Pujols was 2010. Pujols, since he's gotten to the Angels, was an all-star one time, 2015. Griffey was an all-star twice, 2004, 2007 in Cincinnati. Like, that is the perfect career, if I could speak, career trajectory of a guy who played clean and was a superstar in his prime. That's the way it should be.
Yep.
It's absolutely the way it should be. So, I used to have my doubts about Pujols just because he was so big. Like, he started out as an outfielder, then he moved to first base, and he was huge. But the more I've gotten familiar with him and the way his career.
So how many times? Because I agree with you. So back to Griffey. How many times was he an MVP? Don't cheat, Brad. Yeah. How many times?
Griffey? One time, 1997.
Ask a diehard fan. A pop quiz question. Watch them get it right. Oh man. Yeah. So I had to look at.
Well, he should have. He probably would have gotten it in '94 if it wasn't for the strike, because he not only, like, they talk about this too. It's like, not only was he on the path, but he was like on his way
the warpath.
Roger
Yes,
Maris's record that season.
I know.
Yeah, 40 home runs in
like
August.
we needed one more reason
no
to be upset about the strike in '94, but it's fine. But I think it just adds to his mystique and his notoriety, and I think we should acknowledge it just briefly. But go watch that documentary, because it is goosebump worthy for sure.
Yeah, real good, really, really good.
Yeah, man. Listen, I know
Rick?
we went long today, but you loved it and we loved it, and so we're all gonna get over it and be happy. Listen. Don't forget to jump on the shop. Okay, we are at 9plusus.com, NINEPLUSUS.com. For those of you listening, for those of you watching, we'll have a little link in the description and a video for how you navigate the shop. We got new stuff coming out all the time on the shop. Though shipping times are delayed, production times are a little bit delayed due to COVID-19, we still can get you the stuff that you want at really great prices. And that's how you can keep us relevant. You can keep us supporting the podcast, supporting this show, and really supporting the causes that you care about. We've got our autism awareness line still going. We're still going to donate the money for every sale. 20% of those go to alternative baseball, and we're never going to stop doing that. So we have more causes we're going to support coming up. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the show, whether you're on YouTube or any of the podcast platforms that you listen to. Give us a rating, give us a review. That also keeps us at the forefront of the list and makes us more relevant for you. And we want to make sure you catch us every time we come back.
That's right. Tell your friends about us. Bring everybody come in to listen. You can. So we talk about YouTube. This is not something we've told you guys that we've been doing. We clip up the episodes every week. Okay, so if you don't have, lately it's been an hour. If you don't have an hour to sit down, listen to the podcast, watch the podcast, or whatever, throughout the week, I'm clipping up the podcast episodes and we're putting them up on YouTube. So, like the junior section, that'll be its own clip later in the week that you can watch just by itself. The KBO update, that'll be its own clip that you can watch later in the week. So if you don't have time to sit down and watch the whole thing, you can watch each individual segment on YouTube at your leisure. And baseball family, don't forget to, like I said, like, subscribe, rate, review, and we will catch you next week.